Welcome back to Real Migos. It is getting real in here. We got everybody back. The whole gang is back. Kevin, Ian, what's up?
How's it going?
It's been a while, guys.
Yeah, Jeremy, thanks for fitting us into a very busy schedule.
You're quite welcome.
You're so busy. Welcome. This guy's everywhere. He's like, you guys want to do the podcast? Like, heck yeah, we do.
Nice. Well, we got a lot to get to today because there is a lot to get to. So first, thank you for coming back with us. Let us know where you're tuning in from. If you're in the car, if you're in the office, just welcome back. So Kevin, what have you been up to? We actually have some big changes. You joined back our brokerage. You're back here at Real.
Mm-hmm.
You brought your brokerage team back over. What else is going on, man?
Yeah, just trying to navigate this market as best I can. I think everybody else just as best as they can as well. Doing a little bit more commercial real estate and development. So, just managing all that and trying to stay afloat, trying to help people buy and sell in this crazy market that is Austin, Texas. Pretty much it.
Yeah, we'll talk about Austin, Texas here in a minute because it's there's a lot of cool stuff happening, I think, and so we'll get into that. Ian, man, how have you been? And are you in the Cyber Beast right now?
Yeah, I'm sitting in the truck. I've got the puppies. We went on a hike this morning and just running around shooting some content, meeting with clients, and doing the real estate thing.
Nice. So what's new with you, man? What's new?
So I've got a handful of land deals that are moving along, which is kind of interesting. That's I'll call it something that I hadn't done a lot of before. So I've got land deals I'm working on. I've got a lot of buyers that are kind of back in the market where they weren't before. So I think people are listening to what's happening. They hear about, interest rates possibly dropping now that the election's over. It's like, okay, well, if everyone else is going to jump into the market, we should probably get in now. And do we need to sell our house? And they're just going through those types of things, the normal questions, but the timing's interesting for people. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I got a question about sellers here in a minute that I want to get to because I feel like right now especially in the Austin area, if you're a buyer, you are a hot commodity right now. And yes. If you're a seller, you got to have a good plan in place. And so we'll talk about that in a second. Kevin, what are you seeing in the market?
Same stuff, I think this is the load up time where this has been just the longest year, honestly, since like mid last year. I just think it's been very challenging for a lot of people, a lot of sellers, a lot of frustrated sellers. But post-election, I've seen way more people like super interested in talking about real estate again or planning for the future. Like the last 2 weeks have been very, very busy for me. Thank God, I've had a few buyers here and there, but I'm ramping up the listings again. So just having things, ready to jump off for probably January or maybe even sooner. So we'll see what happens. But, it's been mixed. I'm positive.
Yeah. What are your thoughts going into January, right? Because right now, everything's slow, like you said. And I feel like typically January is when things, like especially the beginning of January, was when buyers finally get back in the market. Do you think it's better for them to be popping off right now and really making things happen, or wait till January?
I think if you have the means to buy something, if you needed to buy something and you have the means to do it right now, potentially, depending on the house that you're looking for, but potentially you can come in and snag a really decent deal right now on a house. I'm not saying you couldn't do that in the beginning of the year, but I do think that just like the crypto market has done recently, when things take off, and I think the housing market is going to be the same thing, I don't think it's going to be a slow increase. I think it's going to be very neutral for a long time, or maybe a slight decline or slight incline. But when people come back into the market, I think it's going to happen very rapidly again, because there's hundreds of millions of dollars in, unused funds right now sitting in people's bank accounts, retirement accounts, and they're ready to do something. I just think that they're waiting for something major to happen or to see that their peers are doing something as well. So not saying, again, I think you can get a good deal now. Not saying you couldn't get a similar deal in like January, February, March, or April. Might be more competitive, but if you just want to knock it out, now is a really great time to do that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Ian, what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I think it depends on what else goes along with what your strategy is. So, like, here's an example. If you're looking to buy a place, that's great. You have all these incentives, all these people that are fighting over you as the buyer. But if you also have to sell a place, now you've got kind of this quagmire situation, because you may want to wait. Like, people may want to wait and say, oh, well, the market will be better for me as a seller. Yeah, but it's going to hit you as a buyer if you wait a little bit longer. And so, yeah, it's almost a case by case conversation. But I think most buyers have an advantage if they're looking now while it's holidays, while half the realtors are taking off, all the builders are throwing incentives, trying to get through their fiscal year. Everybody's just trying to get things closed right now. So I think it's a good time for a lot of buyers today.
It's interesting. I don't know. I want to get both your takes on this. There are loan programs out there with different companies. We actually had this happen recently where if you are trying to buy a home, they'll let you buy a home and basically say that the home you live in now is not on your credit, right? So you can buy a home, move into it before the end of the year, get all the deals, get the house ready, and list it in January or February. Yeah. There's going to be some small fees in there, but this is the problem that I see a lot of buyers or sellers face is like, hey, I want to get the good deal, but I got to sell my house first. So there are programs, and we're actually helping our clients with this. We just had one close finally on the list side. We bought a really good house, got a really good rate for them. And then they turned around and we listed their house right after that and turned around. It took 3 months to get it sold because the market has been crazy. But this might be an option for buyers and sellers. I mean, have you guys seen anything like this or worked with anything like that?
I'm actually writing one right now. So you're talking about the bridge loan product. So the question is, if they have a house to sell, do you go with a bridge loan like that, where you get the cash up front to be able to buy a house and then work on selling your house later? Or do you try to put in an offer contingent upon the sale of your house? And both have benefits. For example, the contingent might end up being, you might end up winning a little more money because of the fees that come with the bridge loan. So yeah, it becomes a really good conversation, but I do like the safety net of being able to know that you can go and get the house that you see today and negotiate and get everything taken care of today. Now you have a place, and then you can focus on selling your home. I think it really boils down to what your, what level of savings you have, like to hold over cash.
Yeah. What do you think? Have you seen anything like that, Kevin? Oh, you're muted. Hold on. You muted yourself. There you
go. I'm somewhat mixed on those in terms of bridge loans. I think they can be very helpful and valuable for some folks. I think you're right. If you have the ability in the margin of your house to do that, and you understand the risks associated with it, right? It could be on the market for more than you think. It could be 60 days, 90 days. It could be even more depending on your house. But if you have the ability to do that and you have the mindset that you're okay with that, then, I think it can work for some people. Like I said, I don't know, a case by case basis, I suppose. I had that happen very well in the past, where it worked out very well for a client. And then I had one situation where that did not work out very well for a client at all. And they were super frustrated. So, we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's really important to know what loan product you're getting, because we had one that worked out really well. And then we had another one that just charged a crazy amount of fees. So it just wasn't necessarily the best for them.
Was that product an increasing fee over time? Like, did it increase every couple months that it was on the market?
I think the fee increased. So and then there was a double close. So the double close is a problem. So I would recommend, if you're looking at these options, don't do a double close, because you got to pay title policy twice. But all right, let's move on. So if this is something that's interesting you, and you are one of those people that's looking to do one of those, and you're here in the Austin area, reach out to one of us and we can probably walk you through some of those different programs. I want to get into something really important here, Kevin and Ian, is in 2025, right? I mean, we got all these articles here. Like, I'll share screen here in a second and show you. We got all these articles out, right? So we got articles about, am I even right? Yeah. Warren Buffett told young investors to buy homes instead of stocks, calling 30-year mortgage is a terrific deal. Can you believe he would say something like that? It's almost like he bought into a company called DR Horton and another company, and now he needs you to get a mortgage. Not saying that that's what's going on here. What the fuck is up with these stupid?
Yeah, the ads are getting bad, man. Everybody's got to make their money.
Yeah. 4 ways Trump's housing market plans are expected to hurt home buyers, and 3 ways it could help. I love Business Insider and the media trying to get political. I love it. And then Housing Wire. Urban Institute, 0 down FHA mortgages could expand first-time home buyer ownership. Which one of these, if for you in the comment section, which one of these would you love for us to go through, or what questions you have? Have you guys ever sold a house with a federal tax lien on it? What was the experience like? I've always wanted to ask a realtor. I have not. I've actually, what's interesting is I've been on this channel, guys. I've been talking with Logan Fulmer, and we've had him on my channel a couple times recently talking about tax liens. Now, we haven't had a federal tax. Actually, I have had a federal tax lien. I lied. I have had a federal tax lien. It took a while to sell. All of it had to get paid first in order for the home to close. So if you don't have the gap, then it's going to be really tough for everybody. So
yeah, the closest I've had to federal was the brother of somebody was in prison. Of the seller was in prison, and so we had to make sure that there was a payout tied to that. But again, just like you said, it was all taken care of first up front, and it did take a little bit of time, but I mean, it was just paperwork exercise at that point, and then approval process, and then it was done.
I've had some recent loan types that have been recently that just been a pain in the ass. I did a short sale not too long ago, and then I'm doing an assumption right now. The assumption has been the worst. I mean, I thought that the short sale was bad, and an assumption has been awful. Holy crap! Have you had any of these, Kevin?
No, I haven't done too many of them. Most of the stuff I've done has been pretty clean. We looked at one that had a federal tax thing on it previously. I'm getting ready to do an estate one again, which they can be complicated or they can be really frustrating. But hopefully this one's very clean.
Nice. Well, all right. So which one of these you guys want to dive into first?
I like the Trump one just because I think that's hot and trending right now.
All right, let's do Trump. Let's see what Trump says. So here we go. Actually, I mean, I put a poll out. It was really funny, guys. I put a poll out on this channel and I said, hey, after Trump's election, like, are people more optimistic, less optimistic? It was 50% optimistic, like 49.8% optimistic, 35% like mixed, and then like 20% not optimistic at all. So here's Business Insider. 4 ways Trump's housing plans are expected to hurt home buyer, and 3 ways are expected to help. So let's see, what's number 1 on their list? Regulations. Trump is promised to reduce federal regulations that make home building more costly, with the goal of cutting the cost of a new home in half, he said. When it comes to housing, state and local governments control government. The regulations, the most inflate housing costs by limited or slowing down construction. You guys know what's really, really funny is I ran into, I think her name is Fontes, the East Side City Council representative at the Eminem concert.
Oh, really?
At the Eminem concert, we were in this like VIP area, and I was like, "You look familiar." I was like, how do I know you're on the news? And she's like, well, no, I'm the city council member. I'm like, oh yeah, Marissa Fontes or whatever her name is. She's like, yeah. And I was like, oh, she's like, yeah, I'm really excited because Kamala is going to bring affordability. I was like, okay, well, have you guys at town, like City Hall, ever thought about reducing some of the regulations and making it easier for developers to develop, because the red tape takes them longer, which is carrying costs, which all gets passed on to the consumer. And then have you also thought about ways to increase the tax base instead of raising taxes? Both those things would be more efficient. And she looked at me like a deer in headlights.
So I guess the question is, if you look at things that have been deregulated, just in general, across the board, you look at energy in Texas, outside of Austin proper, your energy is deregulated. How has that been going? Right? People like to be able to shop. It all ends up being through the same supplier, right? But for the most part, people love this this ability to negotiate their prices or find other prices, and that does seem to drive the market down and make it more affordable for people. Is that not the case?
What do you think, Kev?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know that it has, like, okay, we're thinking about regulations being something that would drastically change the cost of building a house. And I just don't know I think that process can take a lot of time. Also, remember, as much as I appreciate some of the things that are going to happen in this new administration, a lot of things take time. So even if you cut regulations, like, that can have an effect on the industry, but there are parts of the industry, I think, that will take time to ramp up changing the regulations and actually impact the cost of the process. So, I'm mixed. I think Trump will do other really interesting things for the economy. I just don't know that there will be a direct correlation on the housing, like has been mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's going to take for the housing market to get better is rates dropping, and we have some sort of cap on tax, especially here in Austin, property taxes. I mean, I feel like every time I turn around, everybody votes for more taxes in Austin. So that is a problem here locally.
It's just like other stuff that we're going to talk about, we might talk about, but in terms of the things that everybody wants a savior. I mean, even people that love Trump, they think he's going to fix every problem, which isn't reasonable to think. The ones that hate him think that he's going to destroy everything, which isn't reasonable to think either. Like, neither side of those is right. He does have some power to start the ball rolling, and which is why people elected him. It's because they want that ball to start rolling in a different direction. But he doesn't have, like, just as much as we tell people he's not a dictator, he's not the bad person that you think he is. Even from a good side, it's unfair to say that he's just going to come in and turn a switch and then everything's going to be okay, because he doesn't have that type of power. There's checks and balances and regulations and everything else. So, and also just remember that what he is the overarching for the government side of this, but the home builders in the industry, they're the ones that have more to benefit, because if it costs less to build a house, it doesn't mean the cost of the houses will necessarily come down. If demand stays high in a certain market, the buyers will still pay more, but the profit will just be passed on to larger corporations.
You don't think that these developers, if they had less red tape and they built it at a certain price point, right, then they kept that same margin, right? Yeah, they're going to probably increase their margins a little bit, but do you think that if we just got rid of a lot of these excess costs that they had, that would get passed on to the consumer, right? So if I'm selling at a house at $500K, right, and I can sell more houses at $450, right? Because it's harder for me to sell a house at $500, but at $450, I could sell that house more. And now I have $50,000 less in overhead, and I can build more. Wouldn't I just build more and sell a cheaper house because I can sell more? Or do I just keep the price at $500K and wait for those to sell?
Well, so theoretically, though, there's that. I mean, theoretically, that works on one-off houses or like in a very simple mindset. But if you look at the entire pipeline, and I'll just say, think back to when things were really good in the real estate market back in 2021. How generous were the sellers, being the builders? How generous were they actually? They were not very generous. They were paying less in commissions because they knew that they could just make more money. It's like, listen, this is so good. We don't even need real estate agents anymore. We don't even need investors anymore. And then the moment that turns to the other side, they're like, wait, we want to pay double commission. We want to allow any investor to buy these houses. Now just please take them off of our hands. So to me, it's too volatile. I think, like I said, at the beginning, they might be more profitable. And then if people are willing to still pay in that sub-market, they don't know the builder's costs. They know how much it costs to buy a home in that market relative to other homes that are available. So those prices might come down for houses over 6 or 12 or 24 months. But if there's other homes on the market that are coming in at a cheaper price, then the competition of supply and demand, that's how free market capital works, is that potentially a builder will come into the market, build at a cheaper cost, and build a better product, be okay with the lower margin, and then start listing prices for less. That's actually what brings down the prices of the other houses, but that doesn't happen overnight. That happens over time.
Well, the one thing that we're seeing, I'll let you chime in here, Ian. Two things we're seeing, the number of new build starts is incredibly decreased. Our friend, the uneducated economist, actually did a full video about this the other day. I thought it was very well thought out. And the other thing is, these builders are now offering, remember during the pandemic, they were trying not to pay us at all. And now I'm seeing 6% commissions, like getting emailed to me. The DR Hortons of the world, the Lennars of the world are saying, hey, we have all these commissions. Come over, come bring your clients. And I'm like, no. Well, DR Horton, yes. Lennar, I'm like, nah, I'd rather not. Ian.
It's so funny because these are all such valid points. So like the variables in there are, while it's a federal conversation, the local market still is going to dictate it. And then it depends if the builder themselves are selling nationally or if they're private versus public. So like Lennar being a publicly traded company, they're going to do what's best for the shareholders, which is increase their profitability, where you have these smaller builders that are here, let's say local in Austin, they're having a hard time selling the 3 houses they have listed on the market, and they're doing whatever they can to keep it going. And maybe they are thinking long-term because they want to scale. And so they'll give some incentives, but they'll try to pass on some of these savings to the realtors, to the clients, because they're thinking, well, this is the way that we need to grow. Where your Lennars, your DR Hortons are just thinking, let's churn them out, boys. So I really like that. It's this conversation.
All right, well, let's get to the next one on the list then. It was building on federal land. So this is one of their proposed things. I don't think that this is going to even remotely come to fruition. What do you think?
Well, I don't know if it'll come to fruition, but let's think about like USDA, like the standpoint of USDA, right? Because that's what we're talking about. Like that could be a qualifier.
Yeah. USDA, you're talking about USDA loans, which are a zero down loan. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there any, do we have any land that we feel could benefit from stuff like that today that's anywhere near Austin proper? It's been a long time since I've had a USDA loan personally.
Yeah. I haven't had one in a while.
And I also don't know what land that the government might be releasing in Austin for builders to be able to build on. I don't know that Austin is, like you said, I don't know that we're really the target market for this conversation for federal land.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, it's not going to do anything for Austin, but maybe other markets.
Outside Austin.
I don't know. I don't know.
Like how many government buildings and like post offices that are closing down? You know, we hear all these stories, but I don't hear that here.
So in Texas, let's see. I'm trying to figure out the number of acres. Forestry Service, 800,000. They're not going to do anything with that. National Parks, 1.2 million acres. And like how much of that's in Big Bend? you know?
Yeah. Right.
So are they they're not gonna like, most of this stuff is like in a park or reserve land or protected.
Yeah. We've got like McKinney Falls. You know, we have a couple state parks here, Pace Bend, but those are, you don't want to build there. Right? Those are not places. Yeah.
They don't need to be built on. That's the thing, is there's enough land, right? Like if you just drive around, there's enough land here that there's no reason to. Plus, if you just want to start some random city somewhere, that's fine. But then you have to have infrastructure, you have to have jobs, you have to have reasons for people to want to be there. Like these things, it would take 100, I mean, maybe faster now, maybe 50 years realistically.
So for Austin, this is a non-issue.
Yeah, for Austin, I think relative to us, I don't think they're going to do this. I actually think the best thing they could do is actually at a state level and city level is stop being so freaking restrictive on the development stuff that we have available right now. You know, ease the restrictions on developing land here in Austin and let us be more efficient with the opportunities that are available to us. That actually could drive down. But, you know, I'm a huge fan actually of housing prices coming down. My investor clients would be upset about that, but actually not really, because stability is probably more of a draw for a real estate investor than volatility and swings in price. So, you know, if we had some more stability, but the ease to be able to add, you know, value in terms of rental properties and commercial real estate in this town, I think it would be much stronger even than it is now for institutional investors, small investors, medium-sized investors. I just think it'd work better.
Yeah, I'd be fine with it being, I mean, you're right. The volatility part of it. I mean, I've been looking at more investment properties. Obviously we've been, you know, we invest quite a bit. I bought into a commercial unit recently, which there was a video out about that. I'm buying another commercial property out at the Coda racetrack right now. I'm buying into a multifamily, buying in gas leases. I mean, so we're buying into a lot of stuff. I'd love to be buying more single family homes because I know it much better. So I feel more comfortable with it. But the numbers for as an investor at 7% interest rate doesn't make sense. Now, that doesn't mean that if I don't see like a killer deal that I'm going to jump on it. But I'm curious what your thoughts are. Do you think you'll see a lot more single family investors back in? Because I think that's where our market is. Where our market has lost like 20% of the buyers, 21% of the buyers is investors have gone. So do you think more investors are going to start popping back in with some more, with less volatility next year?
I don't think so.
Yeah, you still have to think about like, why was that increase of investors so prominent in Austin? And I think what happened, you know, we all saw that there was a migratory pattern, and because of that, you had an influx of investors, and now that flock has dispersed, and so you have all these people that have kind of pulled out of investing in Austin, and now we're just back to square one in a sense. So people that came for the quick money have also left quickly. So yeah, I think we're back to your normal everyday investor. We've got a couple homes here. We want to add another to our portfolio. I think we're going to see much more of that than the whole institutional thing right now, at least right now.
I think you're going to see more of the next tier investors. Austin was very obvious of a investment place for residential single family investors from like 2015 to 2019 and 2020. But right now, rental rates have dropped because of the ability for us to build more houses, and demand is down a little bit. Multifamily projects were built en masse during this time. Inventory is way high, and that's what we wanted. I mean, obviously, that's how you bring affordability down for a city, is you allow density, you allow people to come in and rent, rents come down, prices come down, and that's what's good for the long term for a city. I mean, it's bad for investors in the short term, but it's actually good for the long term. That's why I'm going back to that. Investors prefer stability and growth versus volatility in terms of that. Now, like if you're in meme coins, great, volatility is awesome. But if you're not, then it doesn't really work very well. But I think actually some more of my conversations have been with clients in the next tier of investing, which would be like the $1 to $5 million range, and they actually almost all want some commercial properties, and those would be self-storage facilities, flex industrial warehouse spaces, retail, and those are kind of the top ones honestly right now.
Yeah, I mean, so I bought a commercial property I didn't buy it fully, right? We actually ended up doing the owner financing. It was 4 of us as LPs and then a couple GPs. And then, I'm buying a decent price commercial unit over by the track. So that's, I've been more commercial. Everybody's like, oh, commercial's crashing. I'm buying commercial because not that the volatility in single family, I'd keep buying single family, even with rentals prices kind of fluctuating right now. The challenge is for me as an investor is the taxes are continually going up and rental rates have been coming down. So it's harder for me to make ends meet. Jeff McElroy, a good friend of mine, he basically says, instead of putting in, 40% down, you put 25% down, you put the other money into the account that pays the difference until you cash flow. That's one way to look at doing a rental property for single family. But also when you're looking with somebody who's doing $1 million to $5 million, they're also looking for depreciating assets, right? You can depreciate commercial a heck of a lot faster. You can depreciate multifamily more than you can depreciate a single family home. So it just depends on your, investment strategy. And my investment strategy has changed, obviously. So
you keep talking.
Good. Go ahead.
No,
yeah, go ahead.
You had mentioned commercials crashing, but when you start looking into it, they're referring to like commercial retail leases, right? They're not referring to commercial as a whole construct, right?
Well, they're talking about big buildings.
Right. But from a perspective of I'm trying to lease out. Well, yeah, they're still trying to lease.
Well, the thing with commercial and Kevin, you can fact check me here, is that with commercial deals, the loans on those are not a traditional 30-year fixed rate, right? So they are either a 5-10 year balloon note. And so a lot of those notes were coming due as prices were coming down. And so the refinance on those notes for these projects were in jeopardy. And then everybody had moved out of these big leased units, but now people are starting to lease some of these units back, maybe not the same rate they were, but that's where I think people were. And then I did an article about this on my channel. I don't know if I put it on YouTube, but I put it on Instagram for sure, that 20,000 plus square foot buildings are in super high demand. So if you have a retail store, basically, like pickleball places are buying up these big, like let's say Kohl's goes out of business in a location. You got big pickleball conglomerates buying up the whole building and putting pickleball. So that style in Austin is like gone through the roof. It's in such high demand, Kev.
Yeah. Mostly when this is why I'm I speak English. When people talk about the housing market, for example, the buzzwords are the housing market, it's in decline or it's terrible. But what they're talking about is at a national level. And the Austin market itself and every other market, sub-market has its own challenges, its own benefits, its own drawbacks. So we have to think about things in terms of a more specific asset class. The buzzwords around commercial is like commercial is bad because institutional investors are losing their rear end on commercial big offices because they invested so much money. I've seen so many of them, like even in the last year or 2 years, that were purchased. And now those are already going into the foreclosure block because they weren't able to do anything with them. But when I'm talking about commercial, like I'm talking about your neighborhood commercial. Like I don't have, nor will we have much interest in representing a buyer that's going to buy 6th and Guadalupe or whatever. Like that's $500 million or $750 million, they're probably just going to go buy it. Like they don't need representation from realtors, or that, we're not going to talk about that. So, but there's a lot of this. It's just like the movement right now of boomer businesses that are going to be handed over. We have a lot of interest in people buying boomer businesses or service-based businesses or neighborhood businesses, because those are the ones that are going to be making more money for people going forward. So that's the kind of commercial real estate I think is going to see the biggest boom. Like the car washes, like I said, the small retail strip centers, for good deals like that, those are going to be the ones people want to, gas stations, etc.
Yeah, not pickleball courts. I mean, I know they're taking off now, but think about the lifespan like that.
Well, I don't know about pickleball I think it'll be here for a while, but yeah, not in terms of that, not at the pace at which they're getting picked up. But like Advanced Auto Parts is closing 700 stores, and those are in great locations. So you have to think like there's going to be 700 stores that are like 4,000 square feet all across this country right now. And there's going to be a huge opportunity for the next phase of usage to come into those stores. The real money, I think, is going to be made in helping identify who's going to be filling that gap and how to capitalize on those.
Yeah, like your coffee shops and hair salons and stuff.
Yeah, coffee shops, hair salons, neighborhood services.
Because and I know this is kind of off topic, but because as the world changes and so many more businesses migrate to AI, you're always going to need your hairdresser, right? You might have the wine shops where you go inside and you just get samples of everything. It's like the yogurt shops, and you pay per ounce and then you're done and you have less employees, but you still have the wine shop. You still have that experience where you go in. So I still see a lot of those coming about. So you take the boomer business, modernize it a little bit, but it's still important for local community attraction. So yeah, I see it continuing to evolve.
I love the comments. So keep these coming. Aaron, good to see you, man. We haven't seen you. Where have you been, Aaron? We haven't seen you in a while. And I love this comment. Aaron, I talk about it all the time with my viewers. I'm curious, Scholarship Mogul, what you do, because viewers would mean that you are doing live stream stuff. So curious. I made over 100K on a property in 21 due to the person falling out of contract due to their student loan debt, DTI. That was, a lot of people were able to buy for a while because they got rid of that. But Aaron works in cybersecurity. He's cybered and secured. So we were talking about rental rates not too long ago. I wanted to show you this. So I know everybody's talking about rental rates dropping, but really they're down from 22 and 24, but they're still above $2,000. They're at 2,100. So, all of that's going to change by area. So if we look at this, like the median rental rate right now, where things are actually renting the most, is really between 1,500 and 2,000. So if you can get a property that cash flows between $1,500 and $2,000 a month, boom, you're set. And then next is between 2,000 and 2,500. So this is just, the MSA nationally. We could probably change this around and look at a few different things, but I don't want to spend too much time doing that. Anyway,
I have seen some advertisements for some less expensive properties now from new builds in like Utica Isle. So that's good. I saw some 260s for brand new construction, which I thought was really nice to see.
Yep.
I did have a home listed for a client for lease in Pflugerville. He was very frustrated because I leased one for him like a year ago for like $2,400 a month. And this one we had leased for those prices for a very long time. I couldn't get anybody qualified. I dropped it to $1,950 a month. It was only 1,600 square feet. And I got like 4 calls a day on that property. But the challenge was actually that most of them were looking for vouchers, housing vouchers, Section 8 vouchers. So I do think that there's probably an upcoming opportunity for low-cost housing snatch up with converting it to Section 8, maybe even low-cost like Class C, D apartment complexes and converting them to Section 8 voucher. So just a heads up, investors out there, there's a lot of demand here for that right now.
Yep. All right. Well, we were going through this. Oh my gosh, Aaron agrees with you, Kevin. I agree, but Section 8 housing sounds like a nightmare. I've done Section 8
It's
housing.
not.
Yeah, so have I. Yeah.
I've had a Section 8 property, and it was always something was going on there, so it wasn't as fun.
True.
As
I mean,
yeah.
Again, trailer park owner here. Yes, it's not very fun, but at the end of the day, if the numbers can work out within a greater margin, I think it can be worthwhile. And you still have to screen your tenants going into it. You just don't pick the first person that does Section 8 voucher and let them go.
Right. You're also assuming that you're the one that's managing the property in this case, where if you have, a large number of doors, then you're not going to want to manage that. And so it should be better.
Aaron, good call. Making money is hardly ever fun. Yeah. Like I would say I wouldn't do Section 8 housing again. Like if I bought like a 10 unit complex that all got rented and it was subsidized by the government, and somebody else managed it, absolutely I would do. I mean, that's probably a good money maker. Not in the Austin market though, because it's really hard to get, housing prices in that range.
Yeah, but we're so close to Killeen and Temple, and like you said, Buda, Kyle, San Marcos. We could probably there are probably plenty of opportunities in those areas.
Right. All right, let's get back to this. We were doing the Trump thing. I think I'm over it. Let's talk about. There was another one that we were talking here. That was Warren Buffett told young investors to buy a 30-year note. So Aaron said, I would vote for him. For Kevin or, I actually think Kevin should run for mayor. Kevin, you have 3 votes here. So Aaron,
I'm not a Democrat, bro. I'm sorry. I'm not a Democrat. I'd never get elected. I might have a good head on my shoulders, but I'm just being honest with you. The city of Austin is pretty far gone right now. Actually, if you want me to be frank, I believe the state of California has a better chance of turning their policies around over the next 10 years than the city of Austin itself does. So
that's just because they're so far in one direction already.
Yeah, I just think you need a lot. You need a lot of people to believe that they want change, and before things like that happen. And I don't think there's enough people that see the problems in Austin in that regard right now. So things are generally still very good here, and people generally make money, and there's generally jobs available, and housing is generally still somewhat affordable. So I don't think it's bad enough that it's going to change the policies anytime soon. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to run at some point, but I don't think I'd have a chance.
All right, back to the Warren Buffett thing here. He says he even tossed in bonus advice. If you're handy, consider buying a couple of houses, picking them up at distressed prices and renting them out. That actually goes to this comment right here. Andy just said, he said, according to Melanie Wright yesterday on Adam Taggart, there will be pretty big rise in delinquencies in 2025. I think this is a great topic for us to discuss. So I'm going to get to that in a second. But Aaron is completely right. I actually made this before Aaron got on. He doesn't own just Brown homes. He owns Brown. He bought what was almost into $1 billion into housing companies right before the election. Right, it was like what, January, February. He bought a bunch of. He bought D.R. Horton, I think Lennar, and another one. So I think he's a little incentivized to tell us to get a 30-year. I don't disagree with him, but I think he might be a little more biased than a regular realtor would be.
Is he still living in his same house?
Yeah, the guy who, yeah.
Right.
But this question right here actually is a good question to talk about, and I want to get everybody's take on this. So according to Melanie Wright yesterday on Adam Taggart, there will be a pretty big rise in delinquencies in 2025. I, as somebody who have had Logan Fulmer on the channel, if you haven't seen any of my videos on foreclosures, you really need to watch those. They are very good. Just because you'll see an increase in delinquencies does not mean that those will actually hit the market. Here's what I mean. So, and I'd love to get Kevin's take on this. number one, we've had a really low amount of foreclosures. So if you're talking delinquencies are another thing. Delinquencies doesn't actually mean foreclosures. It doesn't mean it's actually the market. Even ReVenture was like, oh, we're going to see a bunch of foreclosures. The process to get a foreclosure into the hands of a consumer is a long process. You're talking about 120 days of delinquencies, then the foreclosure process, then maybe going to auction. And if it doesn't sell at auction and the loan holder keeps it, then it may go to the MLS. Here's what happens is investors are sitting at every month on the first Tuesday of the month, they are sitting at the doorsteps and they are bidding on all these properties. Here's what they do. They get these properties. If they're distressed and they need to be fixed up, they fix them a little bit, and then they either rent them out or then they sell them. So all of this inventory that these guys have no fucking clue what they're talking about, who have never gone to a foreclosure sale, never even been to a foreclosure process, who keep hitting the crash drums. They don't even know how the process gets. So, Kevin, your take on potential foreclosures hitting the market next year?
Yeah, I'm just not really I've never been one to think that there's momentum to be made on a foreclosure. There are so many wholesale agents in this area that are doggedly approaching these people. And when you have a market like Austin where people are looking for opportunity, if there was a home that was potentially going to go into foreclosure, it will be gobbled up by a wholesaler, resold to an investor, and it's never going to be seen. So I've had so many people in the past, I was one of these people years ago. I can't remember what the site was. There was this real estate website 20 years ago where you could look for foreclosures. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be able to buy a foreclosure. Then when you actually go down the process and realize that you rarely even have an opportunity to purchase them at all. Even if you find one that's going to go to the courthouse steps, and many times you'll show up at the courthouse steps and they don't even get auctioned that day. They get rescued by somebody the day before and you can't even buy it. So it's just so much work. It's like winning the lottery. You'd have a better chance winning the lottery, or you may as well just buy what are they called? Delinquent taxes.
Syndicate. Yeah.
No, delinquent taxes. Yeah.
Tax liens are just as hard. I mean, I had Logan on, and I actually went to San Antonio and we went to the actual auction, and the tax liens were going off at the same time. But even Logan was like, I like the tax liens, but I will hit these. All of these that are at auction are dog shit because we've already hit all of these people. And if it didn't make sense for us, we didn't buy it, whatever. All of these hitting right here are not very good. Now, if you go, so the tax liens, if you can get them before they go to auction, then yes, they're fantastic. But if you're going to your point, Kevin, if you're going to the auction and the stuff at the auction, again, is stuff that's already been picked over by all these people that have automated systems that are calling all of these. They're going in, they're writing a deal, they're putting it under contract, and then they're buying them. So, but yeah, Logan loves the tax liens. Any insights, Ian?
Yeah, I don't think people, when they hear foreclosure, because I probably get 10 to 20 a week emails about, do you have any deals? Do you have any off market? Do you have any foreclosure? Do you know of anything that's falling through? And I'm thinking, how many people actually understand the full process? I've never been to the courthouse steps. I've never had to try to buy that. But just knowing that there are full teams of people, full teams of wholesalers, investors, door knockers that are all going out and all searching for the same thing. When you have this one-off investor that says, I just want to find a good foreclosure deal. It's like the competition here in Austin is very, very, very high for that. It's not like some small town in East Texas, right?
Well, I mean, the problem is that when the crash happened in 2008, a lot of these were hitting at such a high volume to the banks. The banks were having to offload and sell them, right? They had to recoup their funds. That's not the same way they happen. It's not traditionally the way that happens. And I think this is where the average consumer hears foreclosures and they go, oh, I can get a house for cheap. You have to buy it cash. You have to buy it in the condition it is. In a traditional sale, when you go to sell, if there's issues with the house, typically you could negotiate to have those things fixed prior to moving in. You can't do that with a foreclosure. You get it how it is. And so I think that's the misconception. And then you have to be cash. If you don't like if you had $300,000 to buy a house, typically you're going to buy a $500,000 house and mortgage the rest. You're probably not going to go find a $300,000 house.
Right. And then you're still going to put 200,000 into it. Hope to sell it for $1 million.
Aaron says he quotes those people $100 million when they call him. So yeah, I get those calls all the time too. It's fun. So, all right, Kevin's taking off screen. It's just me and you, Ian. How have you been, dude? I haven't seen you forever.
I mean, we've seen each other.
No,
online,
dude.
All right.
We've seen each other online.
Yeah, it's not the same. I mean, did a hike this morning.
Nice.
I'm good. Just running around, like I said, taking care of clients. I've got a couple deals. Like I'm working on some deals with Jeff, working on some deals with Kevin, working on some deals with as many people as I can, because there's just, I think collaboration right now is the key to helping move a lot of these real estate deals along, right?
Yeah.
If somebody has this level of expertise, right? Like if I have a commercial deal today, I'm going to be like, Kevin, let's talk through this, right? Because it just makes so much more sense than me trying to go it alone right now.
Yeah, no, for sure. I love this. I want to get our takes on this. So Andy responded. Thanks, Andy, for playing along, man. You're fantastic. He says, I think her thesis is more of a microanalysis in which banks are pressuring investors to get their loans in order, thus leading to a crowded sales environment. Yeah, I mean, so crowded sales environment means just more on the market. I'm curious to see what happens with inventory next year in general. Are a lot of the people that are sitting in the market going to hit? He says, if it comes to fruition, then having a lot of dry powder for late 2025. And it could be. I mean, I don't doubt that there could be more inventory next year. I think there's going to have to be a perfect storm to see it all hit the market at once.
Did you say more inventory next year?
I think there's going to be more inventory next year, yeah. So look, our inventory for the Austin, well, okay, nationally, let's talk nationally real quick. Nationally, we're less than 1 million homes, which is still below. In fact, I did an article today for BAM. There in the pre-pandemic levels, we were at like 1.2 million homes on the market. We're at 950,000 homes on the market. Now, Austin is much higher. Obviously, we're at about 14,000 homes in our MLS, which is about a little over 6 months inventory. Okay. So we have a lot more homes on the market now, but nationally, we're still below pre-pandemic levels. Yeah. Aaron says that he thinks that there'll be a student loan crisis that will affect it. I don't disagree, Aaron, but this is where too. I love the comments that I get on my channel, because I'm like, all right, cool. These people are like, well, I'm just going to rent. It's cheaper to rent. I'm like, awesome. You can rent the house that I purchase. Thank you. You can pay my mortgage. Thank you.
Do you have the ability to pull up that picture that I sent you? The chart about increases in inventory?
Yeah, actually, I did that article this morning for BAM. So I could pull it up in a second if you want to talk about it.
Well, that's when he just talks about the inventory levels.
Yeah, but start telling us about it, and I'll pull it up because I actually have the link from earlier.
Well, it's that in the 5-year, Austin has the greatest increase in active listings.
No, we were in the top 10. We were actually number like 4 or 5. We're actually lower than that.
Well, the one I looked at was from Resi Club.
Yeah, that was a Resi Club article. I have it right here.
5 years, 37% higher than anybody else.
Here, I have the chart right here. The
1 year is up 26%.
Here's the chart right here. I have it. Okay, share.
And I just want to address Aaron's point. So the student loan crisis, I think that still is a policy conversation. Depends on what happens during this current lame duck session. If there's any more forgiveness, if there's any more deferment options, or if, like you said, everything does persist and come due. And if that's the case, then you're right. There are going to be some people that are hit pretty hard.
here's the Resi Club thing that you're talking about. And so it had, from among the 200 largest U.S. metros, the housing market, these 50 markets have the most active inventory levels. And Austin was only at 40% on the 5-year. It's not even the highest on the 3-year. I mean, you might have looked, and there might be another chart that says different, but that's what this chart is from Resi Club right here. This was literally like put out yesterday. It has Austin up 40%.
Oh yeah.
I don't think you're wrong. I mean, Resi Club put that out.
You're right.
Yeah.
The chart was clipped.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Well, Dinosaur D, look at that kitty headphones dragged in.
Yeah.
Oh man. Dinosaur D, good to see you. We need to do a meetup before the end of the year and kind of welcome back the kickoff. So give you I want to finish this, but yeah, we need to do a meetup. Andy says, I would like to buy acreage somewhere between East Austin and Bastrop. Thoughts on that part of town? I am in Canada.
Sure.
I've got lots of thoughts on it. I think you're going to have to fight off Tito's Beverage because Tito is buying up all the land over there, and so is Elon Musk.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a bad purchase. I think it just needs to make sense. So
X's headquarters are over there now.
X's headquarters over there. You have Boring Company, the rocket company, SpaceX, Boring Company. Yeah, so. Dinosaur D says, welcome back. But yeah, I saw this list this morning, Kevin, and I was pretty, it's interesting because number one on the list was Alabama, which I thought would have been Austin, and Lubbock was higher than us. And so there was another Texas one above us, but a couple in Florida as well. Yeah. Lubbock was high on there. Lubbock is number 3. Killeen is number 2.
Makes sense.
Look at that. Yeah. Yep. Dinosaur D says, I think it only makes sense that Texas and Florida has an uptick in inventory. By the time construction reacts to the demand, there's a lag once they get that going. Can't turn it off. I love it. This is the best photo I've ever seen.
That's pretty good.
Kevin.
Like a treasure version. Yeah.
Dang, that's perfect. All you need to do is put Kevin's kitty at microphone ears on it, and it's like the best one I've ever seen. If there's administration costs with the government, it will show a recession shortly after, for sure. Good enough. So we need to talk about what's going to happen with Real Migos going forward here, ladies and gentlemen. So next week, I'm going to be in Toronto, so it'll be challenged to do next week. Maybe we could do it. I'm looking to come back and bring this back on a weekly thing. I want to try to keep it at 1 o'clock. For myself, I got really, really burned out trying to put all of this together. These guys were helping as much as they can, but I was doing all this, organizing of it, and these guys were doing a great job. But it became too much work selling homes, running a YouTube channel that I was doing normally, plus a team, so I've done some things recently, and plus all the stuff we've done at Real Broker. So the goal is to bring this back at 1 o'clock on Wednesdays. That's the goal. So if you like that, drop a comment in the post. Tell us that's what you want, and we'll keep coming up with fresh content every week. I want to go back to every Wednesday. So that's what we want to do. And Kevin will be on every time. We're going to bring on some major guests again. I'm going to bring on somebody that can manage the stream because I like when we do the conversations. I think it works better when you have this solo layout. But for me to do this myself every time does take a lot of work. So I appreciate you guys. And last questions before we take off. Last questions. I love D.
Yeah, that's an important question. Everybody wants to know if Kevin has a mullet.
Make Austin great again, mullet. I love it. Or are we going in a new direction? Yeah. No, Kevin's going to keep the mullet in 2025. I think it's a thing.
The MAGA.
If you did a different haircut, I mean, I think we have to film it in person and do a whole reveal for it.
So my son actually cut his mullet off.
No,
he did a mid taper fade. That's kind of the thing kids are doing. And we were on the way to school today, and he goes, I just don't feel like myself anymore. He's like, I think I'm going to grow it back. I feel like it just matches my personality so much better. I said, hey man, I'm monitoring the situation closely, and if mullets become very cringe, I will be the first to cut it off. But as far as
you said,
what's that?
I said I like how you said become. No,
Yeah.
they're in. They were in for a minute.
They're still okay.
Yeah, I think what makes the mullets so good is that they're not everybody can pull them off.
Yeah.
There's only a handful of people. Like, if you're 6'7", nobody's gonna talk. Nobody's gonna say anything about you in a mullet.
Yeah. 5'2", maybe thinking about a different haircut.
Yeah.
If you're 5'2", you might have other problems though.
Yeah. Hey, some ladies love short kings. So, all right. So Joe says, will tax rates ever change in Georgetown or surrounding areas? 3% tax rate are extremely high, as it is a detractor of moving to this area. I think so. Tax rates, the rates will come down. The amount of what you pay in taxes will probably not change.
Yeah.
Right. As what you're paying goes up, they'll start to reduce the taxes. So they might start at 3% and you're paying 15 grand a year. This is a crazy thing to say. But then next year they'll stay at like 15 grand, but the tax rate will go down to like 2.7%, or it'll slightly go up. So yes, they passed that rule. Remember last year they did that tax bill for us here in Texas. I have seen taxes go up still. I mean, all my properties, they still tried to raise the valuations on. So my taxes, did your taxes go down, guys?
Yeah, I think they did, but not a lot.
Yeah, no,
not a lot.
All right.
They should.
All right, everybody. Yeah, should. All right, everybody. I got to get going. I got to go get life done. I appreciate you guys, and stay tuned. We're going to keep this coming back, and we might do some tweaks. So we'll see you soon.
See y'all.
You guys.
Bye. I heard Abbott